What's going on, everyone? My name's Mattis, and welcome back to the top 100 greatest Pokemon of all time. We are halfway through the list. Today we'll be looking at number 50 through 41. And like I say usually, if you see your favorite Pokemon in today's list, then be sure to let me know in the comments section below. We got another 10 to go through. And if you're taking on this mammoth task with me, let me know your 50 through 41 in the comment section below as well. Destroy the like button if you're enjoying this series, and let's get on with today's 10. Right smack dab in the middle of the list at number 50, we have Bulbasaur. Number 1 in the Pokédex, number 50 on this list. And it's sad how, I guess, underrated Bulbasaur is for the Kanto starters. I mean, as a whole, it's pretty well loved, I'd like to say. But technically, I guess it is the best one you can really choose when you're starting off your adventure, because it's good against Brock. You got that super. You got quad effective damage on his Pokemon, and Squirtle does too. That's true. But Squirtle isn't also super effective against Misty. Squirtle has a weakness to Lieutenant Surge, which Bulbasaur has a resistance. Charmander has a really tough time in the first two gyms. So Bulbasaur, technically, I guess, is the best one to pick. And by the time you get to Celadon, you usually have a fully kitted out team that can handle most types. So Bulbasaur is number 50, and one of my favorite starters. Next up is Cosmog, one of the most adorable Pokemon, or spoiler alert for Sun and Moon, Ultra Beasts in the game. I absolutely love interacting with Cosmog in the game. It has so much personality for something that you honestly rarely see, and for something that can't actually talk to you. Now, in my Sun randomizer, I turned it into a conspiracy theorist, but I honestly think it's an adorable little thing. And spoiler alert once again for Sun and Moon, the fact that it can evolve, it's the first, I guess, legendary Pokemon to evolve. It comes out, evolves right at the end of the game, and saves you from Ultra Space. It's fantastic. It's amazing. I love Cosmog. It's just a lovely little baby thing. I don't even know how else to describe it. It's a cute little thing. It can't attack. You're not gonna use it in battles. Unfortunately, you can't use its super mega self-destruct, hurt itself but destroy everything around it teleport thing. I don't really know how that works. I guess it does learn teleport, so that's a thing, but it has teleport splash, and that's it. Cosmog, you're not very good in battles, but you are adorable. Magneton is up next, and Magneton is another one of those Pokemon that I've just kind of gotten recently to appreciate more and use more. Because it was a Pokemon that I used in the UCL, I drafted it kind of just as like a throwaway draft in Season 1. But honestly, Magneton was one of the more useful members of the team, I'll say. Because you use Analytic with it, so it's doing more damage if it goes second. You can give it an Eviolite, which is really, really helpful. It can take those hits very, very nicely. It's also incredibly strong. You can give it a Choice Scarf if you want to give it speed. A very versatile Pokemon, and it has Magnet Pull as well, so you can trap all those scissors, all those fortresses, so they can't escape. It's a very, very nice Pokemon, and I like it a lot. We have 2 UCL Mons for the Newcastle Nidoking in a row. Next up is Diancie, which is another Pokemon that I didn't really use a whole lot until I got into drafting, and I used it in Season 2 of the UCL. Albeit, Diancie wasn't as helpful even as Magneton was in Season 1, but I will say that Diancie has a lot of potential behind it. I just don't think I can harness it all that well. Mega Diancie especially, it has so much power behind it. 160 in both of its attacking stats. It's a mixed attacker, so unless you have a really, really bulky Pokemon, anything Diancie hits is going to be taking a lot of damage. Paired with the fact that it has 110 base speed, putting it on par with Latios and Latias, and putting it above that really, really nice 100 base speed tier. It's a very, very powerful Pokemon. I will say that in competitive drafting leagues and stuff, it might not be the best thing because you can counter it pretty effectively. Diancie is frail as heck, even though it has 110. I think it's 110 in both its defensive stats. It doesn't really use it all that well because of their very, very low HP. But Diancie, lot of potential, I just couldn't harness it. We are heading back to 3rd gen for our next entry on the list. We have Crawdaunt here, our little lobster. Now, the reason I like Crawdaunt was mainly based off of X and Y. I will say back in 3rd gen, it wasn't all that great. We didn't have the proper physical special split in there just yet. Knockoff wasn't a good move at all just yet, but in X and Y, Knockoff got that boost. We had the proper split. It gets Dragon Dance. It has Waterfall. It hasn't got the best base stats, but that typing and the moves that it gets access to, it can feel like a very niche little role on your team. And I used to use it a lot back with when the X and Y competitive started. I liked it. I love setting up. I've said this before. I love setting up. I love sweeping. And Dragon Dance is one of the go-to moves for setting up and sweeping, and Crawdaunt uses it so well, being able to use Knockoff, and having that adaptability, making it even stronger. Slacking is that Pokemon for when you absolutely, positively must murder whatever is in front of you at that very moment.
When you absolutely, positively got to kill every motherfucker in the room.
You grab a Choice Banded Slacking and you use Giga Impact. Like, it's over, it's done. I haven't even attempted to use a Z move Giga Impact from a Slacking yet, but I know that's gonna be wonderful. But in general, Slacking is a very, very strange Pokemon. Like, I've never really used it in game all that much. There was one time when I did an Alpha Sapphire randomized, if I can say it correctly, and it randomized the abilities. So what happened was, I managed to get a Slacking that had a different ability. I think it had immunity or something, so it couldn't get poisoned, but the main point was that it didn't have its ability that stops it moving every other turn. So this absolute powerhouse didn't have anything hindering it. It's like getting a Regigigas without slow start. It was absolutely amazing. I loved it. Vaporeon is the evolution that just refuses to go down, ever. It has so much health. I mean, the defenses, granted, aren't amazing, but the health actually just makes up for it completely. In competitive, you can sit there and you can stall with it for days. You can have your leftovers going. You can have Wish going. You can protect. You can Wish protect. You can Toxic Stall with your Wish and protect. You can Scald. You can burn your opponents so they're doing literally no damage to you if they're a physical attacker. Vaporeon is a very good Pokemon. Very, very good bulky water type. And bulkiness is the essence of the water typing to me. So Vaporeon is the essence of the water typing. And even in-game, if you're doing a Nuzlocke, Vaporeon's probably the water type that you want to go for if you don't already have one, because it takes hits so well, it most likely won't die unless you really mishandle it and misuse it. Next up, we have the second Grass-type starter on today's list. I prefer Turtwig just a little bit more to Bulbasaur, just a tad, and the reason for that is most likely because when I first played through Pearl back in 2006, 2007, whenever that game came out, I told my friend, I was like, I'm gonna go pick up Turtwig, because I felt that most people would have been playing with Chimchar or Piplup, because the grass-type starters are usually a bit underloved and underrated, like I said with Bulbasaur. So I was like, I'm gonna pick up Turtwig, and I don't regret that one bit. I loved it. All the starters are pretty good against the first gym, so it doesn't really matter what you pick in that regard. But Turtwig was a nice Pokemon because the ground typing you get when it evolves and the Earthquake you get right off the bat is super, super helpful. Not only do you get things like Leech Seed to keep your Turtwig alive when you're playing Nuzlocke, very, very helpful. It's also just a cute Pokemon. Like, it's just it has a little seed on its head. It's adorable, I love it. Number 42 is gonna be Cresselia, and for a good, 7-8 years, ever since I learned Cresselia even existed, I didn't like it, because, first of all, when you play against this thing in competitive, it is an absolute monster of bulk. It's so annoying to go up against. It can calm minds, it can sit there and heal itself with Moonlight, but since I've used it, again, this is another UCL Pokemon, since I drafted it in the UCL in Season 2, that thing was the MVP of my team. The main reason it's number 42 on this list is that there's one battle that I had. This one battle. And it was against Nips. I'm not sure if you guys know Nips, but he had 5 Pokemon left against my one Cresselia. And my one Cresselia managed to come back and take down all 5 of his Pokemon through sheer bulk and calm minding and force of will. And that's one of the main reasons I love this thing so much, because that one victory, like, I don't think I'll ever forget that. It's gonna be like my top 5 Pokemon battles of all time, or comebacks of all time, because that battle was absolutely crazy. Cresselia, you might be an ugly Moonduck, but I have to appreciate you for that. And the last entry on today's list is gonna be Darmanitan. Now, I like Darmanitan a lot, solely because of its Choice Scarf set. You run a Choice Scarf, you can run U-Turn, you can run Earthquake, you can run some kind of fighting type move, and you can run Flare Blitz. And it's very predictable, Darmanitan, a lot of the time, but even if you can predict what it's going to do, it's still faster than you, and it's still hitting you with all of this power from a Flare Blitz, and no matter what you send in, it's still doing a lot of damage. Darmanitan has so much power behind it, you just see it and you're like, okay, something is gonna die to this Darmanitan. If you wanted to, you could Choice Band it, but do you really need to? I don't know if you really need to. Darmanitan has so much power behind it. I love using it in competitive. I absolutely adore using it in competitive. But that is going to be the final entry on today's list. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode. We're halfway through the list now. We're in the final stretches. So I hope you guys will join me in the last videos as we head towards number 1. Be sure to destroy that like button if you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.